This week on Lost, Saeed forgets how to say Iraq.
Iraq.
So don't say it like that, man.
Locke forgets what a pencil is.
I was just giving him this pencil to give to you. I thought you could use it.
And Hurley forgets Walt's name.
Dude, your kid's gone.
Which I don't know how he does, because...
Walt! 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 Walt!
Welcome to my Lost Rewatch, where I am revisiting every episode of the show Lost and talking about the good, the bad, and the mysteries. This week is Season 1, Episode 14, Special, because you are special. Let's get lost! Things come to a head with Locke and Michael when Walt gets knife-throwing lessons from our favourite bald-headed bastard. Frustrated and wanting off the island, Michael decides to build a raft to crickets.
So, are you suggesting something?
Yeah. We build a raft.
A raft.
Oh, no, you dare.
Elsewhere, instead of just looking for her, Charlie struggles with whether he should read Claire's diary or not. In flashbacks, we learn that a succubus, formerly known as Susan, is responsible for tearing Michael's son away from him. A decade has passed, and Walt's thrust back into Michael's direction long after he'd moved on, when the succubus suddenly dies from a vague blood disease, and Brian doesn't want him anymore. Oh, and Walt is 100% for sure special. And that was special. This is the only time we will see Walt pre-island, in particular exhibiting his powers. You're a wizard, Walt! But we'll get to the Walt stuff later. For now, how weird is the opening of this episode? This opening scene really does feel as clunky and as awkwardly staged as a high school student film.
Hey, Michael, you seen Claire's bags?
You see my son?
You seen her bags?
Claire's?
Her luggage. It's not been brought back here. No one seems to know what's happened to it.
Sorry, man. I don't know. I'm just looking for Walt.
Oh, got it. Sorry, I've not seen him.
Hey, Jack. You see my boy when you were out there?
No, he was at the caves.
Yeah, he took his dog for a walk. Told him to stay close as usual.
Yo, dudes. Got a new tourney lined up. We're playing for the last of the deodorant sticks. You dogs up for some golf?
I gotta go.
But then there are a few times in this episode where scenes are filmed a little bit conspicuously. They don't feel as natural to the rest of the show. This uber close-up of Walt, for example, and this open-mouthed one of him and Vincent. You might just think that it's because we're being told to focus on Walt and how Walt sees the world and how he conceives the world to be. But then you get a scene like this that is rather unremarkable in that it's just Charlie and Kate going through Claire's luggage, but it has no right to be this beautiful. And then you've got this Michael Bay character revolving shot that makes me feel sick from how unrelentingly shaky it is. Oh. All of this is to say that I think that the cinematographer Larry Fong is just kind of having fun in his final episode as DOP. I think he's just trying out some different things in this final episode before he goes off to work with Zack Snyder to work on movies like 300 and Watchmen and Batman vs. Superman.
Hello, Michael.
Bah! Surprise, Susan! Let me get my pencil so that I can send this demon back to hell. Oh, that's not a pencil. Oh, that's not a pencil either. This will do. Be gone, demon! Succubus! Imagine if someone as insufferable as Susan was on the island. I mean, look, you do get the occasional jerk. Recently, Jin has become nice, but up until now, he's kind of been a bit of a stiff board. Then you got Sawyer, who is pretty jerky. But those characters are kind of played out for, like, TV drama. Whoa, drama. There's something about Locke and Michael's dislike, or rather Michael's dislike of Locke, that just feels, like, heavier. And the only thing I can think of it being like is, like, for example, I'm looking to move into a new house right now, and the thing that I think about most isn't whether the water boiler is up to date or whether that stair is squeaky or not. No, the thing that I think about is whether my neighbours are going to be arseholes, because you can't choose those. You like Locke a lot, but you can understand why Walt is drawn to him after everything that we've seen Michael doing. But at the same time, you can see how Locke saying something like this...
Michael, I know it's been difficult to bond with your son. You know why he's formed an attachment to me? Because I treat him like an adult, you still treat him like a boy.
He's 10 years old.
He's been through more than most people in their entire lifetimes. You haven't spent enough time with him to see it, but he's different.
What did you say?
Is so out of line. And whilst I don't agree with Michael waving a knife at Locke, you can at least understand where he's coming from.
You're not taking him. You're not taking my son.
You haven't spent enough time with him.
You can go if you want to, but Walt stays with me.
I'm trying to have a discussion with you.
No, you're not.
You haven't spent enough time with him.
I'll give him everything he needs.
Except for his dad. He's not going with you. No!
You really want to argue with me about this?
Hell yes! There are laws against this kind of thing.
We're not married, Michael.
You haven't spent enough time with him.
I'm his mother, and I'm steadily employed. Who do you think the court's going to side with?
Walt, understandably, is kind of rejecting Michael as his father.
You're a jerk.
What'd you say to me?
And it's just a shame how publicly he does it. Kind of a wonder that Michael even has the restraint to only stab a polar bear in this episode, and not Locke, or Boone, or even Walt. Oh, and speaking of polar bears... Howdy ho! I'm Mr. Hanky. I'm here to talk about anything poo that happens on Lost. And let me tell you, the CGI polar bear was pretty poo. They had a puppet polar bear, and they could have filmed the scenes around it, like with Jaws, but no! They squeezed out this turd.
It's not my fault.
What do you mean it's not your fault? You're the polar bear.
I had a bad tummy that day, so they just CGI'd me.
Do better next time.
Okay.
This has been your Pretty Poo Report, and I've been Mr. Hanky.
And I've been Polar.
Let's go. Okay, let's spin that donkey wheel and go back to see what people were saying about this episode in 2005. Whoa, guys, did anyone else notice this? There's something up with the kid Walt. In the flashback to Bird, I just saw it, it's commercial now. Walt was talking about birds, and then he started getting mad because they weren't looking, and then BAM! A bird hit the window. Woo! Okay, just got this creepy feeling. Did anybody else notice this? There's something up with the kid. I'm not trying to make fun of this person, I just find it hilarious when people write like some obvious stuff. This person is talking about how they guessed that Claire was going to appear in the episode at some point because their name appeared in the credits. I do remember back in the day, this used to be a thing where like you would either try to only look at like the top of the screen when the credits were rolling, or you would try and do that thing where you like blur your eyes out so that you didn't see the credits, because sometimes you like that surprise. Walt the kid has powers? That's nice for him. Boone got a few slaps in this episode's comment boards. I'm not really sure why, because Michael was holding a knife to Locke. I think Boone's reaction was fair. Michael's a dick! Claire's alive! It's the attack of the obviously fake polar bears!
Leave me out of it, it's not my fault.
There was a few comments that were really adamant that Vincent is some kind of shapeshifter and Vincent was the polar bear. I'm not sure how that would work in Walt's favor, where Vincent would then be attacking Walt himself, but I do like the creativity. Lost yet again does not disappoint. New questions arise. That bitch looked straight coked out. And let's go to Whose Side Are You On, where I talk about my MVP of the episode. Well, I'm not on Susan's side. Alright. It's a bit hard to find some sexy scenes in an episode that is 90% a middle-aged father with his 10-year-old son. But I did really like this scene with Saeed and Shannon, where they talk about the fish song, and they just completely blank Jack.
Once I realized these equations were coordinates, latitude and longitude, I assumed the Frenchwoman was trying to determine the location of the island. But it was incomplete. The notation's fragmented.
Except for the fish song.
Mm-hmm.
The what?
But when I lay the pages down like this...
The fish song is definitely season 1's Caught in a Net. But, you know, fish are infinitely more sexy than nets. When I'll be referencing the fish song, I will not be talking about La mer, la chigomche, la chematite. No, I will be talking about this banger. Show me, show you. Let's talk about Walt. Let's talk about Walt. Show me, show you. Check your mystery. Can we address how good Lost is at seemingly making us believe in something really quickly? With just a few scenes, we pretty much believe 100% that Walt has powers. Which is kind of crazy because the show, up until now, Unseen Monster and the fact that all these people survived a plane crash aside, the show has been playing itself pretty seriously and pretty realistically. But whilst the main push happens in this episode, there have been seeds in the last several. For example, with Walt, before we got...
I'm not looking. I'm not looking.
Oh my God.
Or...
There's something about him. The hell are you talking about, man? Sometimes when he's around, things happen.
We got the polar bear appearing after Walt was reading a comic featuring a polar bear. We got this comment on the weather.
I'm gonna get your dog back as soon as it stops raining. Hey, listen to me. I'm gonna get your dog back.
We got some pretty good backgammon playing.
My roll.
Yahoo.
I need a 4-3. Yes!
No!
Your turn.
And at the beginning of this episode...
Whoa.
And so you do have all of this stacked evidence for Walt being psychic, but there is just enough wiggle room and plausible deniability that if the show decided to not follow up on that, then it'd be totally fine. But it's mostly that the show is telling you Walt is psychic, but Damon Lindelof doesn't like to spoon feed people unless it's in behind the scenes production videos or podcasts.
Gee, Walt's reading a comic book about polar bears and a polar bear shows up. Or Walt is reading a book about birds and a bird flies into the window. I know what I mean by it, but I think when the audience starts getting disconnected is when you tell them what to think, which is, Walt is psychic. Like, I don't want to say that, but all I'm going to say is, I show you the scene, I throw out the idea, and then it's sort of up to you to extrapolate from it what you want.
Okay, and now this is where we come to the elephant in the room.
Not the polar bear?
No, not the polar bear in the room. Not the talking poo? No, not the talking poo. Now get back up there, okay? No, the elephant in the room. What was up with Walt? It's kind of a non-question and a non-mystery that haunts the show. Here's the thumbnail for a video that was made a few months ago, wondering what the unanswered questions of Lost are. I wonder what number 1 will be.
Number 1. What is Walt's entire deal?
And here's a post on the Lost subreddit from just a few days ago. There are many like this where a first-time watcher will finish watching the show and then come onto Reddit, and then one of their first questions will be, what was up with Walt? I know it's not entirely satisfying, but the answer is Walt, just like some of the other characters on the show, had magic powers. The end. But then you can also totally relate because Walt was built up. In the first season, he's kind of built up as being this unique, magical little kid. And then he's just written out of the show. And we actually do not see any more, let's say, magical powers appearing until at least season 3, when we get Desmond's flashes through time. Ultimately, I can understand why Walt sticks out. And coming back to that thing where we don't really like to look at some of the show's failures, it really is just that Walt is the first major casualty of the show being made up as it went along. And look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with something being made up as it goes along. If you don't have space for creativity as you are creating, then I would argue that that thing that you're making is not very creative at all. You've just got your one idea and then you close yourself off to all future ideas. If that happened, then Lost would never have even been successful as it was. For example, originally the polar bear was going to be a boar, but then it wasn't even J.J. Abrams or Damon Lindelof that suggested the polar bear. It was producer Sarah Caplan. There was no original plan for Walt to be special. That idea formed when Damon Lindelof was trying to get inspiration for future episodes of the show, and he was rewatching the pilot episode and liked the shot between him reading the comic book with the polar bear and the polar bear appearing.
Well, this is one of those kind of creative things that's interesting behind the scenes of writing. A lot of what the show became and a lot of the stories that came, rather than saying that, oh, they had it all figured out, but they didn't, was they took clues. They took clues from the pilot, the writers themselves, JJ and Damon. They looked at things. And one of the things they looked at was the fact that Walt was reading a comic book that had a polar bear in it right before we see the polar bear in the pilot. And so that became a thing. Damon became sort of fixated on that particular cut that showed him coincidentally reading about a polar bear, and then there being a polar bear on the island. And he decided that somehow Walt was responsible for that.
Huh.
Like Walt had somehow projected this image from the comic book and made it real on the island. That was, again, obviously that's not what happened, and that's not how the polar bear was explained as we went along. But that, at that time, was one of those notions that was intriguing Damon.
So if we don't let what preceded to inspire what will proceed, there is no room for creativity. And it doesn't just happen in television. As a teacher, it can happen in your lessons. I plan. I have my idea of what I want to do. Then you get in the class and you see the children have this idea of what they want to do or how they've interpreted what our English lesson plan is going to be. And then you create something new and, key point, better. Not always, but it's that process of creativity and learning something together and that inspiration that makes the lesson fun. And I can see how that applies in writing a television show or even a book. And that's one of the reasons why season 1 of Lost is so good, because it wasn't planned from the beginning. It was planned out after season 1, and we'll get to that later. Don't chat shit in the comments now. We'll talk about this later. But I mean, I'll let producer David Fury explain it a bit better. I think he does it better.
Lost was wholly original, and the fact that you can keep that going and be inspired by different stories to tell other stories, I think that's what storytelling should be. So everybody should kind of relax and just enjoy the ride and stop worrying about whether everything has been mapped out and everything is, it's not to say things have no meaning. It's simply to say there's so many ways to tell stories. It's nice to be inspired by, feel like things are connected when you find clues in your own writing or in your own show that lead you to another story. That's the really creative part. And people are sharing in that. Viewers are sharing in this creative endeavor that is very unique. And as you're saying, not everybody can pull it off. Damon could pull it off.
Thank you, David Fury. And please go and check out all of his interviews on the Hatch podcast. The Hatch podcast is really a great source of interviews for all kinds of people who worked on Lost. And so that leads us to the question then. What was up with Walt? Magic Island. All right, thank you for joining me for this episode. I hope to see you next week for what Damon Lindelof often says is his least favorite episode of the show, Homecoming, a Charlie-centric episode. Agree with me or disagree with me about anything in the comments, but please be nice, and I will see you in another video, brother. Bye.
Somebody get Jack!
What? Wake up now.
You think he's around?
I sure hope not.
Charlie, you bring her here. If you don't, I'm going to kill one of them.
He has the advantage.
What if I had a way to get the advantage back?
They want to use you as bait.
An all-new Lost, next Wednesday, 8/7 Central, only on ABC.